So, how are you?
Very good, thank you. I'm very good, thank you.
You're not straight to the setup. You've been here before.
Absolutely, always nice.
How was your visit in Kuwait so far?
I will say quite fast, but we just arrived yesterday and already had the lunch, dinner with some collectors, and so really nice, really
So
nice.
today you have the dinner.
Yesterday night.
Okay. And before coming to Kuwait, you were in Riyadh, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
How was Riyadh?
Always good, the same.
Yeah.
The same. I start to be accustomed now a little bit more than before, and no, it's nice. I really like it.
Is it changing?
Yes.
Do you feel the change?
Riyadh is moving like going fast, and you see more and more new infrastructure, like buildings, and so like the Riyadh, they do a new city also related to that, which is going to be incredible. So yes, the things goes.
Nice.
It's impressive.
And do you feel the collectors are changing?
I wouldn't say changing,
or,
but I think I see not necessarily always the same collectors, but the interest is still moving and growing. I will say, and it's not just because I came 2 times or 3 times that it's going to change everything. So this is the things that we have time, and that's the reason why that it's important to come back and to to do visit and the human interaction, I will say.
And, we spoke about that. Remember last time, and I was telling you, for me as a watch lover, as a guy who's now within the industry, this human touch is lost by the big brands. But you still make sure that you visit at least like now in the last 3 years, 2-3 times, right?
Exactly. Yeah. No, I think I remember the time that I was talking about the starting with Philip before, and he said to me, don't forget the collector will always value that we are alive. And he was right in the thinking about that, the relationship that we can have, the human value, and in fact as we are small and I started everything from the scratch, it's like a lot of collectors say to me, Romain, there is almost nobody better than you to explain what you do and to express your vision, your passion, your philosophy, to talk about the past, about the present, and about the future. So I totally understand that.
And do you hear these feedback? Like, do
Yes.
you?
More and more that for example, one collector said, because he was asking me about the future, how I see that and what is my vision about, and I was explaining to them that for me, when I'm born in the Vallée de Joux, I have seen AP, I have seen Coultre all of my life, and I will say an achievement will be that the time that I will pass away, to know and to see that my name will be seen as me. I have seen AP at that time, like AP, Coultre, and Romain Gauthier. So this is a kind of things that for me is a kind of, we work for that, I'm working for that. And the collector, when I was explaining that, he said, okay, so we are seated in front of the person like if we were seated with Patek and with Breguet. So you see the vision is in this understanding in a certain point,
Yeah.
So I think the more and more people value the human possibility to be in contact with the one who started, with the one who created, and it's a different level when the collector comes at the manufacturer and see the rest of the team.
And of course you do keep this relationship.
Yes.
So you're always in touch with them. They can reach you very easily, and this is something amazing. To be honest, it's really hard to have.
And more, because we really, we work with my team. We also have now, I would say, a database of our clients in the thinking about, to reach them, to be in contact with them. And this is exactly that. I was I was in US a few weeks ago, and we have reached out all of our collectors that we had in different places in US because I was traveling there, just to say to them, I'm traveling, so I will be happy to meet you, and if you have time, and this is how I think this is how we have to do.
I've seen some people posting about, I think New York or something, or DC maybe, I forgot.
Yeah.
But that's and the last time also we spoke about going back to the improvements or something. We spoke about a big watch you're working on. When are you gonna announce? Is there something coming soon or?
Yeah, for sure. One of the points that is an indication that something will arrive. This is when you discontinue. So exactly, we have discontinued the HM, the HMS. We don't take any more orders. The logical one is discontinue. So for sure, there is things cooking and will arrive. In 25, it's going to be our 20th anniversary. So we will have a few things. We will arrive. It wasn't necessarily planned, but it will arrive at that time. The fact is, it's extremely complicated when you do something as we do, and that you really want to be at the level of quality and the creativity. It takes time. It's not something that can be done for a certain date. You remember the past with Baselworld. It was always the rush for so many brands to be ready because it was Baselworld. The pieces was not working. It was like almost like prototypes and this. So and I know that some brands really stopped to do those exhibitions, and one fact was related to that. It's too much pressure, and at the end of the day, you don't do as the best as you can. When you are stressed by the time. So this is really a thing that on 25, finally, a few things will arrive. We'll have something regarding the sea. We'll have a big pieces also on 25. It's going to be our 20th anniversary.
By big things, you mean new complications? Because I have
a big one.
You have a big one, okay.
Yes, a big one, which is related more, I will say, not necessarily the complication that a collector imagine, with a perpetual calendar, with this indication and this and that, and no, something a little bit, I will say, with complication, the classical thinking, but related more about the engineering of the movement. Okay. Yes, so this is going to be different.
From my understanding, and I can fix if I say something wrong, but all of your watches currently focus more on the regulator and the finishing and such. How many complications you introduced? I don't think. Like overall your history in 20 years, did you do a chronograph? Did you do a minute repeater?
No. So this is more related, I will say, with calibers. So the real different calibers, we have done 3. 3. The HMS is a half, it's a half evolution of the HM with the Prestige collection. And the last the last one, I will say 4 with the C. I was thinking about the excellence, but in horlogerie, with the new piece 4. So in 2025, I will say an evolution of the C and a big new caliber. Yes, so I would say in 20 years, which is crazy, it will mean 5 calibers.
Because I see the trend that maybe 10 years ago, 15 years ago, it was all about the complications, right? This perpetual, this, that, and then you either mix all Grand Sonnerie with this. But recently I noticed now people actually going, even if you go to Philippe Dufour, and your best example is that his best work is in the simplicity, right? It's not the Sonnerie he did, it's not the duality he did, it's actually the simplicity. So you do agree with that, like we cannot call it a basic time only, but a time only piece is more valuable to a watchmaker, let's say? Or
I will say, it's maybe from a different point of view that a watch has to be useful, and we don't necessarily need all of the complication. So I will say the quest of complication is maybe a part of the side of a collection, but it cannot be. I don't know. Very collectors who are only focus of high complication. High complication is really like grail, to have. And I will say to wear, I think, yes, more and more collectors are maybe a bit more conservative, because what is useful at the end is to read the time, is simple indication, but not necessarily, the position of the moon regarding this, and the difference of the sunrise and sunset in New Delhi or in New York. You see what I mean? So I think this is maybe a reason, and as you know, all of the complications are not that easy to achieve. In the thinking about that in terms of test, in terms of let's talk, honestly, the reliability of an engineering need to be improved, need to be tested, and sometimes it's something that is not that easy to do for a small one or also for a big name. So this is why there is more security in a certain way to release things a little bit more simple. Everybody knows the most famous name in watchmaking. They don't do a lot of complication, and there is a reason behind that, and probably also because the need of the majority of people is not related to complication.
Yeah, I think you said it very well. A complication is something that maybe I look up to and own, and like I would love to own one perpetual 1 minute repeater, and then when it comes to it, I want to wear something more like depends on your lifestyle, but something more simple, something that's easy to wear, something you don't have to worry about adjusting and such. I have OCD, so whenever I wear a watch with a date, I have to fix the date. If there's a moon phase, I like to fix the moon phase. So it's a bit. So let's talk about a watch that, to me, I've seen it spread really well between at least our region, which is the sea. We spoke about it before, but I want to speak about the success that you're having with it in the region. How is it going so far?
Yeah, the sea was, I will say, a very big challenge for me, and it was a challenge because I was really saying to myself that I remember one day I did a meeting with my production director, and as a friend, and we worked together in so many years. That's the person. When I started to do parts in watchmaking, it was him. So now we work together. He's the production director, and I have explained to him that for me it was difficult to imagine the future of us only by doing 50, 60 watches a year, and to see a kind of clear vision for the future will be always like this, because the level of what we do, like a logical one, cannot be replicated like 200, 400 a year. This is purely impossible by people, by the complexity, by the time consuming, and also at the end of the day, for the exclusivity of what we do. There isn't that much of collectors around the world who are willing and able to pay that level of price, So we are also, if we are smart in a certain way, it's also limited by this. You see what I mean? Sure. So I was thinking about that, and I said, I cannot place a cover on me and the vision of creativity. We need something that will help us to develop the brandness and to give a kind of entry level. Like a starting point with what we do. And in fact, it's really related with the roots that when I started with the Prestige HM, the price point was very similar to the C. And this is why I would say with 16 years of experience, it was the time, I will say, to say something to come back at that level of price, but with the know-how, the experience, that at that level of price we will succeed. Because when I did the Prestige HM at that level of price, I was completely wrong. I was, it was the starting, just higher. Me, exactly. I was thinking about, it's working, but at the end of every year, it was like, I look at the numbers and they were like red, so it was not, I never really achieved. So again, the thinking about that, we have to learn, we have to understand, and those 16 years really helped me to develop something different. So this is why the design, of the C is not something related to the logical one or to the macro rotor. I will say those design are purely artistic design. And also, by working and doing, the manufacturing for some brands, for sure I understood since a long time about the difference of design, and I understood that Romain, don't do less like the artistic design to reduce the level of price. Do something different. Okay. And this was really my approach in terms of modern, sport, and something that has a difference between, So the use of titanium, and including for the movement, was one of the key, in the understanding about how to last long, how to have something which is directly related to something a bit more technical, a bit more, I will say advanced, not just the stainless steel as everybody think. And everything was rotating around that, like the finger bridge history. If you look at, there is 2 bridge which are exactly, a straight line. And that was my challenge, from the artistic design that I like, from the Vallée de Joux. Then I was switching to something like the sea. So I'm very happy about, and from the vision about how to develop the brandness and what we do today, it's just great.
Yeah, no, it's I think it's very important to have this sporty side of a brand, which a lot of brands are moving towards. So the C fits perfectly. Yet it's a sporty watch. It's light. It's comfortable. It's hot horology, as you would say.
Yeah, and for me, in 2010, I also understood that, Romain, the way as you do, what you do is a luxury, that level of watchmaking. But I also understood that the way as we were doing was also a luxury, And I started to understand and to say about, Romain, why most of the names, they don't do as you. There is probably a reason. And the reason is because it's very expensive to do by that way, And with all of those experience and all of that, I also started to understand that, Romain, if you want to continue to that vision with the haute couture, I will say in watchmaking, you have to finance that. You have, in a way, to get stability. And if you want to continue with 50, 60, 70 watches a year at this level, you need to have some other things to help to maintain that, And this is exactly, I will say, on the how to manage my passion. I was also working on the C, and the C is on every angle for us it was very important, to develop, and it will help us, like I say, to the brandness, the stability of us, the entry price point, I will say, regarding us, which is still very expensive, but the entry price point, to understand about what is our philosophy, what is the vision, and what are the differences, and I will say a lot of collectors understand when they turn the watch, and also when they wear the watch.
Yeah. And this is what I love about it. It's that sporty wearable, yet you can enjoy it as a watch lover. It's more than just a sporty watch.
Yeah.
Perfect. So now I think you have 4 editions, right?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Something new coming.
Yes.
By the way, you spoke about doing 50, 60 watches, yet you're still doing you're not doing a lot. Like if you do the C, I think 38,
So
still very small amount of number compared to.
Yes, I will say this year we will be able to do around 250 watches. Means around 50, 60 excellence, I will say, in terms of watchmaking. This is what we call horlogerie d'excellence. So this is the logical one, the macro rotor, the HMS, 50, 60 pieces like we have done since many years. Yeah. And the additional numbers are related to the C. So the C, we have, I will say, 2 main things. The titanium limited edition, were limited always on 38, and the C4 were 38 pieces limited, and the C5 will arrive next week. which is under my wrist.
I think I can see it then. Okay.
Yes. So this piece is also limited on 38. And next year we will have a final edition to close the 3 hands limited edition in titanium. And that collection, this one will be limited to 88 pieces.
88 pieces.
Yes.
3 hands.
To close.
You mean
Exactly.
to close the so 5 editions of the sea.
It will be 6 with the next year, exactly.
Nice.
So 6 edition of limited edition with 3 hands in titanium. Yeah.
Very nice. And what you did last time you were here, you showed me the platinum one.
Yes.
Which was a different thing, but I also loved it. I loved how you did the Roman numbers and such.
So the platinum we see less because the price point is not at the same with the full white gold movement, the polished beveling, the gold dial, platinum case, and all of this. So it's not the same price point, but that's the only C for the moment which is open for custom.
Oh, okay, so you can custom.
That's the big difference.
You spoke about like for me, for example, if somebody comes to me and they usually see independence, and most of the questions like, why is this so expensive? Like, and you mentioned a couple of times that to me sometimes I answer them is actually most cost sometimes comes from the finishing, correct? Like you mentioned a lot of heterology and how because some other brands that are independent, they can afford making watches much cheaper than what you're offering. But like how big? So my question is like, how big of a factor that is finishing goes into the price of a watch, especially independent?
Yeah, I will say there is many factors that influence. For example, if you have to produce a part of a watch, if you have to produce for 10 pieces or 100 pieces or 1,000 of pieces, the price point at the end of the day is absolutely not the same. So this is exactly, where are the difficulties for, I will say, the small watchmakers, because typically, not everybody produce their own parts. So they have to, to find a specialist, I will say. A lot of people call that, I will say supplier, but I will say specialist, who has the know-how and all of the techniques to be able to do that. So, for example, the cases that we buy, I clearly see when we have to order like 5 cases or when we order 50 cases, it's not at all the same price point. So this is really affecting a lot, the differences between, I will say, a brand who has to order 1,000 of cases, or if it's just like 20 cases. Yes, so this is the first point. Then after that, for sure, the expensive side is related, I will say, also to the manufacturing, the production, the engineering, and there is a certain quantities of parts who are, I will say, finished by a different way. When we talk about the finishing, for most of the brand, after that it's related to the bend plate and the bridges. So this is, I will say, me. I have a certain habitude to see about how a watch is designed and why it was designed by that way. So we come to, I will say, a very interesting point that not a lot of people talk. But me, I explain when I have my collectors who visit. It's basically what we call industrial design. When you have to design and to concept something which will be produced 1,000 of pieces a year, but it can be not just a watch, for any kind of industry. If it's like 1,000 of pieces or 10,000 of pieces, you are not going to concept as the same way. So same things with the engineering. You are not going to do necessarily the same level of engineering, and also the same level of design, because the quantities and the price point that you have to achieve in the market will give you some strength. It's like a brief, that how you have to. So this is also influencing, the all of this. The same function can be achieved in terms of complication by a simple way. But the same function, like you see the chronograph, you know,
Yeah.
and the most expensive and the most beautiful way, in a certain way, it's with the column wheel. But there is the chronograph who works without the column wheel.
Yeah.
It's less expensive to produce. You see what I mean? So this is where engineering can also influence the price point of something. It's not only, I will say, as you know, you asked about the finishing. Finishing is one of the aspects. You are perfectly right. But if we come back to the starting, engineering could be also influenced by this. Then after that, the design, the role of a designer is how with this engineering I could do something a bit more beautiful and a bit more sexy.
Yeah.
And this is where I will say me, I had also to learn a lot, you know, from, I will say, the starting, because I'm not a designer. I didn't do the education about that. But this is the things that I understood, you know, that nobody buys something ugly if it's if it's only just well finished.
Yeah,
you see what I mean?
That's very true.
So, and this is where, you know, we have differences, you know, that like us, I will say maybe some small brands, they are not necessarily the best in terms of design. Maybe the bigger one are better in terms of design, which is for sure, you know, because they employ the best designer of the world to do that. And there is differences between all of this. Yes. So at the end of the day, for sure, the finishing is highly time demanding. You know, we have bridges that we take our specialists, you know, which are only ladies, you know, at the manufacturer. Some of the bridges, they take like 1 week to do one bridge. So
I've seen your watches, all the corners, the beveling and such. You make it harder for them to do.
Yes, because, you know, the quantities as we do give us the possibility to do that. Yeah. And hopefully we do that. And this is exactly, I will say, at that level of watchmaking, what our collectors are expecting. Exactly. If they are expecting, you know, something, you know, more affordable, but with design and all of that, it's not necessarily us. But if they are expecting something with craftsmanship, with complexity, and also complexity in design, this is maybe where, you know, I will say some niche brand can have more proposal. Because we produce less, yes. But there is also small brands who produce less, but they don't do that. So it's every collectors at the end of the day to search, to do their own, you know, analyze, to compare, to understand, to see where is the value and how to understand value in watchmaking.
I wanna. This is the question or a comment I wanna say before the last question about the watch you have. If you don't mind talking about it, because we're gonna publish after you announce the watch. I saw a very nice presentation by Habring, you know, the wife and and they spoke about, it was in New York, and big part of it, which I was amazed, they compared a small manufacturer with a big manufacturer. The big manufacturers, they do what kind of the opposite, like 40% of the budget is into marketing. And then they give very little to producing the movement or doing the modules and complications. But yet for you guys, it's actually the other way around. You spend thousands of Swiss francs on developing a new movement and finishing and hiring the best. And then when it comes to marketing, you guys, okay, how can we reach the people now? So it's a bit different.
I will say, yes, it's a bit different, but I will not compare in that sense. Why? Because, you know, with the quantities of watches that they do, and including that we do like 250 pieces a year, do we need marketing? No, not that much, you know. So we are lucky that, like me today with you, you know, this is the kind of things that, you know,
comes without marketing.
Is what I mean.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, when you have to produce, you know, and to please, you know, so many people around the world, like the big names, there is, I will say, no other way in a certain way, you know. It's a kind of, it's an another dimension, you know. It cannot be done by the same way. And is it different? Yes, but we are different. So at the end of the day, I will not compare in that sense. I will say there is big names who does incredible watches,
Yeah.
incredible product, and they also invest a lot, in those sense. But for sure, it's not necessarily every piece is like this.
Yeah.
If you compare, the car industry is the same, If I don't want to mention a name, but from the
You can mention names.
no, I will say from S class or A class, it's not the same. It's not the same level of everything. So and everybody accept in a certain way.
Yeah.
But it's a little bit like this, that when you have to produce a small amount of things, then you can apply much more time, much more because the S is more expensive. It's related a little bit about like independent watchmaker, and the A, is produced in a large volume. Same for the C class, and it's also well done, but it's designed differently because it has to be rich, a certain different numbers.
Yeah.
And if you think about Mercedes, does also a lot of sorry for the name, but I like the brand, but they also do a lot of marketing.
Of course,
So there is a dimension of brand that at the end of the day you have to if you ask the history of Ford, he was always telling about the most important, if you have £1, invest in marketing. This is if you want to develop a brand. So this is depending about maybe the dimension of how someone wants to be present around the world. And for certain quantities, there is some tools that are not necessary. And for a higher level of quantities, you need different types of tools.
I see. Very nice. So can we talk about the watch you have?
Yes.
So what is it?
So that's the C5. And I was really looking for the C is I will say on the side of the sport, something who represent in a certain way my vision about haute horlogerie. We started with the C1, C2, C3, C4, much more oriented with the sporty things. The C5 is, I will say, the elegant one. So we have done the dial with the engraving, hand engraving. So the hand engraving that we have used is what you have on the back side of the bridges. So when you turn the watch, the middle of the bridges is engraved by hand. Exactly.
Is it hammered? I think
no. It's
engraved.
Really an engraving by hand. Exactly. And this engraving is reproduced on the dial.
Oh, nice.
Exactly. So
It's different.
I will say the way that we have done create a kind of marble, because there is different. The light doesn't go as the same way and with the same direction due to that. So it's creating really something alive, exactly with the same technique, like I said, with the movement, but on the dial. And with the champagne color, the burgundy, it creates really something which is, I can say, a sport luxury elegant. And I'm happy that the C5 is will be probably the only one elegant with that level of elegance, I will say.
Very nice. And this will also be 38 pieces, limited edition?
Yes.
Very cool. And if you're doing it engraved by hand, each dial will be a bit different, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's the beauty. Every dial will be different. No one have done that before, because I guess we are almost the only one to use that technique, and it creates something a little bit exclusive.
Very nice. Well,
thank you.
I love it. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you so much.
Welcome to Kuwait again.
Yes.
We're always happy to have you, and I always tell you, and I tell Mo, that being with as you said, marketing for independent people, we really appreciate it as watch lovers. It's more than metal or watch you wear. It's all the relationship and the time you have with the watchmaker. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
And I hope you enjoy your stay in Kuwait, and if you have any other visits in the GCC too. So thanks a lot.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.